format today. We're live from Starbucks in Surrey, BC. After the BC Lions just announced the trading of Vernon Adams to the Calgary Stampeders, and I won't go into specifics of the deal because you'll get a podcast episode on that trade and some of my thoughts. But one of the things I did want to do is keep my commitment to another Vancouver sports team, the Vancouver Warriors of the National Lacrosse League. And I agreed to have Brett Mydske on the podcast, Captain Brett Mydske, I should say, to kick off what people have been waiting for and what Brad Challoner on Coach's Calls called the longest off season. Brett, welcome. Let's just dive right in here. The 2024-2025 NLL season is upon us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And we were talking off the air a little bit, so let's just dive right into this because this is important. Warriors news. After a short discussion, I just pulled this out of the press release. Both the Roughnecks and Warriors decided the best way to please their fans was to hold an impromptu shootout, which does not normally occur in an NLL game. And I should paraphrase this by saying this was the game on November 23rd at the Langley Event Center. It's not the Event Center. I can't remember the name for it. But you and the Calgary Roughnecks played to a 13-13 draw after regulation, so you guys decided to hold a shootout. Calgary scored the winner to wrap up a fun night for both the teams and the fans. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because that's not something that you said normally happens in an NLL game, right?
Yeah, I mean, for these exhibition games, I don't even know if you're supposed to do overtime. So the coaches got together and they kind of agreed they didn't want any injuries to happen if we ended up going into overtime. So it was a full house there, so they wanted to make sure they put on a show for the fans. So it was nice to showcase a little shootout at the end.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking, just based on what I read about the game and sort of your guys' turnout. We've talked on previously on the podcast in episode 8 about the 6-2 end to last year and the increasing fan support. So you've seen that again in both the preseason games, which aren't downtown at Rogers Arena, but I wouldn't call it in the sticks, but I would say it's out in Langley, and it's not like the fanciest of places, right? So hopefully when the home opener happens December 13th, there's going to be a good crowd for you guys.
Yeah, no, both preseason games, the crowd's been amazing. We've definitely felt the support through all the fans. It's pretty special when it's 7:00 exhibition game and 6:00 you're going out there for the first warm up and fans are already in the building.
Yeah. Tell me some thoughts coming out of training camp, because training camp's wrapped up. I got a couple of things here for you. Training camp's wrapped up. You're in Colorado this Friday to take on the Colorado Mammoth, first game of the season on the road. What's the feeling coming out of training camp?
You know what? I thought, and I think the coaching staff thought we had a really good training camp. We had 2 strong exhibition games. I thought that we didn't bring too many numbers to camp, so we got into the systems right away, and we're feeling good. I mean, the last game, you can see kind of the resiliency and belief in our team from last year, right? We got down 4 or 5 goals, I believe, and we ended up battling back and tying it up late in the game. So that was kind of our identity last year. You're never out of the game. You just play 5 minutes at a time and start clawing back. And so it was good to see early in the season that we still had that identity.
Yeah, because I know Kurt mentioned that. That's one of the things you guys talked about. And, I don't have all my previous episodes notes with you. But, we've kind of developed a bit of a relationship. You're a friend of the show, of our podcast, right? So we're going to have you on throughout the season, your schedule permitting and ours. But that's one of the things you said coming out of camp this year in the previous episode, right? Was that there's continuity. There's no new coach like the last 3 seasons. So you got Kurt there. I mean, obviously Kurt is, I don't know. I mean, I don't understand lacrosse enough. That's why you're here to teach me, right? Kurt's effect on the team, but also, bringing a culture to that team that maybe was lacking before. What are your other thoughts coming out of training camp? Because I got a couple of roster questions that I thought were interesting too. But what do you think this team is sort of destined for? Because it seems like the way the success translated the second half of the season, I'd personally like to see it a whole season of that kind of success. And where does that take you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's everybody's plan. Kurt always preaches us not to look at the outcome, just focus on the process. So, I mean, if you ask anybody in the league, doesn't matter what team they are, the ultimate goal is to win a championship and hoist it over your head. But in order to get there, you got to make playoffs first. So that's obviously our main goal is playoffs. But what we keep preaching every practice, every game is you just keep getting better and better each day, whether it's in practice or game time, right? Obviously, we want to be better than we were in the exhibition game come this Friday, and then after that game, we want to be better. So then you're peaking for the end of the season.
Right, and that's one of the things because I looked at it initially, and my initial reaction in my brain was to think, oh boy, in an exhibition game, surrendering some early leads. But then I remember, and obviously talking to you, what you said about that resiliency. Do you think that's going to be a concern this year? Like even if you're down a couple of goals or you fall behind after, say, the first half, how good are you guys going to be at mounting a comeback?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be an issue now, right? It's almost like if you haven't experienced being able to come back and you haven't experienced any resiliency, then you don't have that belief in the team. But once you've experienced that and once you've done it a few times and you have that experience, there's never any doubt in your mind. You could be down 5 goals, 6 goals, but if you just grind away and just play 5 minutes at a time and not scoreboard watch, you put yourself in a good position.
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about the roster out of camp because it was released yesterday. And obviously, I grabbed that immediately and going to share it in the chat. But is there any surprises for you coming out of camp? Anybody who made the roster that you maybe thought wasn't going to? What are your thoughts there?
Definitely one guy that comes to mind. He's not really a surprise anymore, but I didn't know much about him before training camp. Was Alex Stathakis. He's an American guy. My little guy just in the washroom. They just need to go grab him. Are we able to hit pause here?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, we allowed to hit pause here?
Yeah, go ahead, Brett. Go ahead, we're good. All right, guys, we're just going to pivot here while Brett steps out. But as I mentioned prior to starting this conversation, at the BC Lions press conference today at 12:30 at the Surrey practice facility for the announcement of the trading of Vernon Adams from the BC Lions, and I'll share the press release, to the Calgary Stampeders. In extent for, and I'll look at the deal. It's basically Vernon goes straight up. And I'm hoping to have GM Ryan Ringmaiden on the show in the next couple of weeks. He's going to drop it in from 3 Down Nation here. BC Lions trade quarterback Vernon Adams to the Calgary Stampeders. Trio of draft picks. The Lions, and I'll cut and paste it in here while we keep chatting. Lions are receiving the following from Calgary in the chat. Lions received Calgary's second round, 9th overall, and 4th round, 29th overall picks in the 2025 CFL draft, as well as the second round pick in the 2026 CFL draft. Stay tuned for our YouTube channel because I filmed Brian's press conference actually with my phone, so I'm going to upload it to our YouTube channel and also transcribe it to Otter AI, so I have the quotes from Ryan. But while we wait for Brett to come back, let's dive to a little bit more some other stats about the Warriors. Obviously, the game drops this Friday in Colorado. I want to talk to Brett about a few things a little bit here. But yeah, no, that's the main sports news.
Hey.
All right, you back and ready to rock?
Back.
Okay. I was just filling everybody in on this. Yeah, no, I'm good. You good? Good? Okay. All right, so back into this. Roster coming out of camp. Any surprises, Brett? We covered that. What are your thoughts on Anthony Kalinic getting released? Because I saw that Anthony's been moved. I saw that Anthony's been moved. What are your thoughts there? Or basically, that Anthony's been released.
I don't know if you saw. I just had to deal with my son. I think what was the last question? I was talking about Stathakis, right?
Yeah, Stathakis, yeah.
Yeah, so he he was a guy I didn't know too much about. He's from Denver area, and he's never played any box lacrosse before. He's a face-off guy.
Okay.
And he came in and he literally didn't know anything about the game, and he's definitely impressed me. He's great on the face-off. He's learning on D. He's a big addition on the team, considering somebody that's never played the indoor game before. So he's definitely impressed me.
Okay. Yeah, I got Sathkas listed here. Defenseman number 73, 5'11", 220. I'm assuming it's Northville, Michigan. We're talking about. How do you think that complements your defense? Because we talked about on one of the previous episodes, not just you, but we talked about. I'll just have to look up his name here. The fact that Jeff Cornwall had come in your relationship with Jeff. Does a guy like Alec strengthen your defense even further?
Oh, I mean, he's a face-off specialist, so there's a lot of teams will have face-off guys that don't typically take too many offense or defensive sets. Reps. But Alex definitely proven that he can handle himself on defense.
Okay, and I had actually asked you the question, and you had to step out about Anthony Kalinich.
Okay.
I saw his release. So what's the story
with
that's
Anthony? A tough one. I love the guy. He's been on the team last few years. I think ever since I joined the team right around COVID. It's just one of those things. I guess they ended up drafting some obviously Shinato. So we added addition on defense there. Got Jeff Cornwall, and it's one of those things with added draft picks, a couple free agents, and he ended up losing the spot. But I thought he was great team guy. He didn't get in the lineup too much last year, but he definitely did everything off the floor to help out the team. So wish him best of luck.
Yeah, and let's shift gears a bit because we're still talking roster. But
yeah,
one of the things I wanted to ask you, and this is, I think, going to be really interesting this season. I've written down it's Walsh and O'Toole in goal. Any backups, or is this the plan? Because I think this is a really interesting.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. What did you say?
Aiden Walsh and Connor O'Toole.
Yeah.
That looks like the goaltending tandem out of camp.
Yeah, absolutely. Walshies are obviously number one guy right now. Kurt's older Matt, and
right.
Walshi's there, and Walshy played great in the exhibition games. Same with Walsh.
Right.
O'Toole played great in the exhibition games. Same with Walshy. So Walshy's our guy, and then O'Toole's there to come in when he's needed and back him up and push Walshy and have some healthy competition there.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting. I think I really want to see if Connor plays this year. That's Connor O'Toole. I mean, obviously we know about his connection with the Stat Pat. We talked about it previously on the podcast. I talked to Connor last year at last year's season ticket holder event, and he was the third string goalie with Aaron Bold and Aiden Walsh. And so Connor's moved up. I'm really curious to see if Connor plays this year and what he can demonstrate. Let's shift a little bit. Got a couple more things. Let's shift a little bit to the game in Colorado this week. Thoughts on taking on the Mammoth? Hey, buddy. Because taking on the Colorado Mammoth, I immediately thought of Will Malcolm or whatever.
Yeah.
So what's the plan there? Because Colorado, I read their little preseason summary. They were winless in the preseason. That means nothing, right? Once the regular season starts. And we know what Will's like as a player. So what's the plan there?
I mean, he's obviously a very special player. I don't think there's many offensive guys who's as fast as him. So definitely getting out on him early. You don't want to have too much separation, because when you give him too much space, he can use the speed to his advantage. So he's a handful. Obviously, we're going to get our speedy guys on him and hopefully slow him down.
So how do you think a guy like yourself, or who else is in the lineup, on defense is gonna shut him down? Is that a guy like Stathakis' specialty, as well as people like Jeff Cornwall, or what's the plan there? Is it taking him on by committee, or is there a set series of plays?
Defensive by committee. Obviously, we play a system. There'll be some key matchups. I don't know who will be on them, but definitely you want limited space. So I'm not sure if you know too much offensive systems, but I'm sure they'll have them up high or out to the boards, at half boards, and try to clear the middle, clear underneath, and get them to go one-on-one. So anytime they're vacating, you got to have a head on a swivel when you're off ball defender, right? Show some
Right.
support because he's got a really quick first step.
Yeah, it's interesting just looking up and down the Mammoth roster, right? I mean, you and I talked on the previous episode about obviously their championship run there previously. Some of the expectations placed on them, and where they sit, and then. I mean, you guys are kind of starting the season with a bang, right? It's not like I don't know if there's any teams in the NL now that it's gone to 14 teams, but
yeah,
right, it's a tough matchup.
It's going to be a tough matchup for sure because another guy, Colorado, got back in the lineup this year, is Ryan Lee, and he was instrumental in their championship run. He's a righty. They didn't have him last year, so I think that hurt them quite a bit last year, not having him in the lineup. So they have him, Ryan Lee on the right side, and then Will Malcolm on the left side. Two new additions. They're going to Colorado's going to be a good team.
Okay. Well, let's wrap it up there. Thank you for doing this. I know a little bit of a crazy day. Hey, buddy, you got your son. You got your son there. I'm trying to cover other stuff. Maybe we'll catch up again the next few weeks prior to the home opener. I'm looking forward to December 13th.
Spider-Man fans can